The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Think of a better sign up today. Edge is the bet code SGPN. When you sign up, you get a free Refs Terrorist t-shirt. Claim your shirt at sportsgambling.com/refs. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday, June 14th, around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Rose always Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the breakdown of the finals taking place in Stuttgart and in Den Bosch. So we're going to break down the matchups between Diallo and Bergs, as well as the matchup between Zverev and Fritz, taking place on Sunday. Before that, though, brief reminder, helps with the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube, and reminding you to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. So a couple ways to support the podcast, either on video format or potentially audio format only. Show's available in a bunch of locations, so please give some support by leaving a like and subscribing on YouTube and leaving a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Plus, a reminder, check out the SGPN merch store. For the Tennis Gambling Podcast merch, we have sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. High quality, very affordable. Recommend getting yourself something there. So check out the merch store as well. And a reminder, we also do have an app for the SGPN platform. Get all your free picks and podcasts for the Stanley Cup, for the College Baseball World Series, NBA Finals, etc. on the SGPN app. Get it wherever you do. Get your apps. Moving on to the recap of what happened in the last episode for the semis in Stuttgart and in Den Bosch. Bad episode for us. Ended up losing the lock and the dog. For the lock with the over, 24.5 games in the Bergs and Opelka match at minus 115. Wasn't close as Opelka got destroyed. Nice win by Bergs. Opelka, though, just could not do anything when it comes to returning, which was expected. Problem was the serve was not as effective, and it felt like Opelka was just a step, I'd say, behind or a step slow the entire match, as you saw Bergs eventually win in straight sets. No breakers either, so it was really just a complete domination in favor of Bergs, but either way picked up a loss there for the lock. For the dog, picked up a loss with the Fritz match, had the over 2.5 sets at plus 130. I thought both guys played pretty well. Fritz was just a little bit better on the bigger points and eventually did win the breaker into the second set. So he had a tiebreak potentially, but really never a chance, as Fritz seemed to just be better the entire game. But you ended up the entire match, Fritz, though, faced 0 break points and Felix faced 2. So it was once again relatively even. The problem was Fritz was just better in the breaker, so picked up a loss there. So once again, not a great episode. Look for a bounce back here on the Sunday matches. So getting into the actual recap of the semis, no drama at all. You had basically one match that featured a little bit of drama in the first set. That was kind of it. But Diallo ended up beating Humbert in straight sets as he won 6-3, 7-6. Good for Diallo. He's had a pretty good season. He made a final last year before losing to Kashanov, and I thought that might have been fluky. Might not have been. Diallo's pretty good. So he's going to be in the top 50, I believe, starting next week, and he looked very good, facing no break points against Humbert. Humbert's a very good returner, and Diallo just neutralized him with the serve and volley game. He won 83% of the first serve points, 68% of the second serve points, and Humbert just could not really handle it. So nice job by Diallo to serve well, as he used his serve and net skills to propel him to the final here in Den Bosch. For Bergs, once again, nice, easy win for him. Opelka beat Medvedev and I guess had nothing left in the tank because he no-showed the entire match, and Bergs was able to beat him in straight sets. So overall, a very, I'd say, unexpected final between Diallo and Bergs, two guys who nobody really thought would have a chance of making a deep run. Diallo on grass, it makes sense conceptually with his overall skill set. We've not really seen him thrive on grass before, and Bergs is kind of the same way, where he was in pretty bad form in the clay slate. He was pretty good in the hard court slate, but on grass, he had never really shown a large amount of success until now. So we have a pretty interesting final there taking place on Sunday. For Stuttgart, you had two entertaining matches. Unfortunately, both of them did end in straight sets anyway, as Fritz beat Felix 6-4, 7-6. Said the stats before. Fritz faced 0 break points. He kind of coasted in terms of the service games. Felix, though, did a good job of hanging in there, but unfortunately just hit an unforced error when he couldn't afford one, and that was why he lost the match. So either way, picked up a loss for the over 2.5 sets. For the other match, the match of the day, it was Zverev against Shelton, which was very competitive. It was 2 tiebreaks in favor of Zverev. First tiebreak was close, shouldn't have been, as Zverev punted away 3 set points, eventually 4, but ended up holding it out to win 10-8 in the breaker, and then he won the second tiebreak 7-1. I think he was up 5 or 6-0 in the second set breaker, and then eventually did finish the job, but Zverev played very well. Like Diallo and Fritz, faced 0 breakpoints in the entire match. Shelton faced 6. Zverev was on the verge of another potential punt job because in addition to the first set tiebreak, which he almost lost, he also had a couple of breakpoint chances in the second set. He had 2 in the 0-1 return game. He also had 2 match points in the 15-40 spot in the 4-5 game, and he failed, but eventually got the job done anyway. So it was a classic Zverev, I'm not going to make it easy on myself, but I'll find a way to win anyway, and he was able to win in straight sets. Good for him. Shelton, at the end of the day, was serving very well the entire event, and Zverev still ended up forcing 6 breakpoint chances, converted 0 of them, but at least he showed that he's able of still, returning against an elite serve, and he was able to put pressure on Shelton. It worked on the breaker, not so much in the actual games themselves, but the point is Shelton did win 77% of the first serve, only 49% of the second serve. So you saw Zverev do a good job of doing damage against Shelton's second serve, while also winning 86% of his first serve points and 59% of his second serve points. He did serve very well, though, ended up landing 77% of his first serves. So Zverev was serving out of his mind, and you saw Shelton have no answers to it. But I thought return game-wise, I thought he played pretty well. Could not finish the job when it comes to actually capitalizing on the breakpoint chances, but still found a way to get over the hump, and now he's in the final. We have the outright for him to win the event, so that's the only outright we have left. We'll see if Zverev can get the job done against Fritz. A rematch of Wimbledon last year, which was a 5-set epic that Fritz did win, but we'll see what happens. Either way, though, not too much drama once again. 4 matches, all of them ended in straight sets, so nothing else to really add. For the women's side, though, you had the opposite. It was absolute chaos. So Maria came out of nowhere, and she beat Keys, and now she's in the final after having a really bad year. And now she's in a final, which nobody expected. You saw Zhang lose to Anisimova in 3, which is also kind of a shock there. She was favored in the match against Zhang. She's a good grass player, but I feel like nobody expected Anisimova and Maria to be in the final of London. And then in Den Bosch, you had Mertens beating Alexandrova in 3 and Ruse winning in 3 as well. So you had 4 men's matches, all in straight sets. You had 4 women's matches. You had 3 of the 4 going to a third set, and the only exception was a massive underdog in Maria, who ended up beating Keys in the semis. So overall, a pretty, once again, wild collection of women's matches and pretty straightforward collection of men's matches. But we'll see what happens here in the finals on Sunday. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the 2 matches in the Sunday card, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is EdgeBoost. First, their bank of bettors ensuring all your transactions are approved betting-related, no usage fees, no minimums. Catch scores as well as an approval. For all the deposit sign-ups today, EdgeBoost.bet. Code SGPN when you sign up. You get a free Terrorist t-shirt. Go to sportscam.com/rest to claim your free shirt. We're also brought to you by Circa because they're still hosting the Ultimate Fanciful Giveaway. They're giving away a great experience for a 12-person league, the draft in Vegas, featuring VIPs for your stay. You'll get a limo ride from the airport, 5K tab at Stadium Swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. A reminder, we also have a partnership with Circa. If you use the code SGP15, you'll get 15% off everything at the Circa property. So don't forget to use the code SGP15. Enter the Ultimate Fanciful Giveaway contest by going to sportscam.com/Circa to enter the free contest. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the matches on Saturday. Time to move on into the matches for Sunday on the men's side. You have the best match first. You have Fritz and Zverev, which should be a very fun one. They are facing off at around 6 a.m., so it's going to be an early one, but should be a good one. For the lines here, you have Zverev as a home country favorite at -140. You have Fritz at +120. For the spread, you have -1.5. For Zverev at +102. You have +1.5 games for Fritz at -122. For the over-under in games, 25.5. For the over sets, I see 2.5 sets at around +130. Unders about -165. And for the set spread, you have Zverev in straight sets at +181. Fritz in straight sets at +275. For the team totals, I see 13 on both guys, -140 for the over on Zverev, -120 for the over on Fritz. Now, for the head-to-head history, I see a comment here by Sashi saying that nobody beats Zverev 5 times in a row. We're going to find out because Fritz was getting, I don't want to say dismantled in the rivalry, but he was not doing well in the rivalry. And then he flipped the switch because he won 4 straight, including a couple of Grand Slam meetings, beat him in the ATP Finals last year, and a final set breaker, beat him in the Laver Cup last year as well in straight sets. US Open, Fritz did beat him last year in 4 in a breaker as well. And in Wimbledon, they had a 2-set comeback where Fritz won the first 2 sets, then lost the next 3. So Fritz, once again, has won 4 straight against Zverev. They have not been easy. The Laver Cup one was the only one of those in straight sets. So even with Fritz winning, you tend to see distance, you tend to see a massive war, and Fritz has gotten the better of Zverev in those matches recently. But I expect to see a bit of carnage here between the two of them. Think it will go distance. I see a lot of holds of serve. Don't see many breaks. Both guys serving very well so far in the event. I think we're going to end up seeing a couple of very close sets. I think it will go 3. Now, to start off with the money line, though, the question is, should Zverev be a minus 140 favorite against the guy that's beaten him 4 times in a row? The arguments in favor of Zverev is based on the eye test. He has looked better so far in the event. You could argue that it's been close. Fritz has been pretty good as well, don't get me wrong. But I do think you're looking at a situation where I think Zverev's faced off against better competition up to this point, which does give him a little bit of an edge in that area. Nakashima, you could argue, is not that great. He's a pretty decent grass player. Fuchsovics is decent on grass as well. I mean, beating Howells, you could argue, is better than Moutet, but you're looking at Shelton being better than Felix at this point in their forms. And Shelton, off of having that crazy service performance against Leheshka, I think is the better player. He's in the top 10 now. So I do think that Zverev gets the edge based on competition, based on what happened in the semis. But both guys have been looking sharp. The thing is, Zverev's in his home country. Will the crowd atmosphere play a factor? We don't know, because it might initially, but we saw Tiafoe beat Struff in a final set breaker here a couple years ago. And of course, that was also an American against a German. So it did not matter in that case. We'll see what happens, but I see a very close matchup no matter what. Do I want to lay minus 140 with Zverev? Not really. So the value, I guess, is on Fritz. Do I think Fritz is going to win the match? I'm going to say no. I am going to give it to Zverev. I think Zverev's serving has been a bit better than Fritz's, at least based on first serve percentage. We know Zverev is a very efficient first server, and I think that the first serve percentage could play a serious factor in this matchup. 77% on the first serve in the last match they ended up having against Shelton, ended up landing 71% in his match against Nakashima, and against Moutet in the first match he ended up having. He ended up landing, let me just pull it up here, 67%. So once again, not only does he have a very good first serve, but he tends to land it in the high 60s, low 70s for percentage in this event. And I think that might be too much for Fritz to handle. Now, if Zverev's first serve percentage comes down, that opens the door for Fritz to win this. But by comparison, Fritz against Felix was 65%. Against Fuchsovics, he was 69%. And against Alice, he was at 61%. So it might come down to who actually lands more first serves, and that might come down to, once again, which player might have the easier service holds, which might dictate who wins the match. I think Zverev's first serve percentage will be higher than Fritz's in this matchup, which is why I am giving him a slight edge here. Plus, in the Wimbledon match from last year, Fritz did lose the first 2 sets. So in theory, in a 2 out of 3 set match, he would have lost. He came back and he won in 5, but I do think that Zverev should be favored minus 140, bit heavy for me. I think it should be minus 120, in my opinion. But I think that Zverev has looked better based on eye test, and I do think he might use the crowd to his advantage. I like the over, though, in this match. I see a war. I don't mind the 3-setter at plus 130. I see a close battle featuring potentially multiple breakers. That would not shock me either. Both guys should serve very well. I don't see many breaks at all. I think you'll see a breaker or two, and I think you're going to see what could be another epic between the two of them. Give me the over in this one for the games. Give me the over for the sets. I'm expecting to see a very entertaining competitive matchup, but I will give a slight edge to Zverev. Not going to bet Zverev to actually win the match on the money line at that price, but I do think the over is the way to go for this matchup. Moving on to the matchup in Den Bosch between Bergs and Diallo. Decent sized favorite for Diallo. He is around minus 170. You have Bergs at around plus 150. For the spread, minus 2.5 for Diallo. You have plus 2.5 for Bergs. Plus money, though, on Diallo for the minus 2.5. For the 1.5, you have minus 135 on Diallo. Plus 1.5 at Bergs is plus 105. For the over-under in games, 23.5, the over is minus 105, under is minus 115. For 22.5, the over is minus 150. For the set spread, Bergs in straight sets is plus 313. Bergs to win a set, though, is minus 222. Diallo to win in straight sets is plus 171. The over 2.5 sets is around plus 125. Now, for that history, they faced off twice. One time this year on clay. Diallo killed him. But Bergs is not a great clay player, so you can kind of disregard. Faced off a couple years ago in a challenger. Diallo did win on hard court in a final set breaker. But the point is both guys are looking for the first ever title. Bergs lost in a final this year, and you ended up seeing Diallo lose in a final last year to Khachanov. So this will be a new champion on the ATP Tour, which is pretty cool. But we'll see what happens in this event because it should be pretty, I'd say, entertaining. You have different styles of play, though. Diallo is a massive server, and Bergs is not. Bergs' first serve percentage has actually been horrific in the event, and he's still been able to win. Against Opelka, for reference, he only landed 49% of the first serve. Against Lejal, he only landed 52% of the first serve points, or first serves, I mean. And against Papirin, he landed 48%. Blocks, he landed 48 as well. So Bergs has landed basically below 52% first serve in every single match here, or 53%. So he cannot hit a first serve, and yet he's still been winning. So you could argue that could go two ways. Either one, he actually hits his first serves and he wins, or two, he has been able to get by with the rallying and the variety that maybe he can get by anyway, similarly to what he did against Opelka. Now, unlike Opelka, Diallo has other, I'd say, skills that can translate well to the grass. We know Opelka is a serve guy, kind of it. He has a decent forehand, not a great volleyer. Diallo is, though. He has really good hands at the net, and I do think Diallo can shorten the points here. Now, Bergs proved, though, he can handle good servers. He did so against Opelka. Maybe he could also handle Diallo in this one. Now, I do think for the actual price, I understand why he's a decent favorite. 2-0 on the head-to-head. He's looked better based on the eye test for this event. I think Diallo wins for this one. I think Diallo, at the end of the day, is the better player. Bergs can get by, but if he's only going to be landing about 50% first serve, it's not good enough. I think Diallo can force the issue. He will come forward even when he's returning. I think he can hit some solid forehands or even backhands, try some slice approaches. He will come forward. And I do think Diallo will be able to put points away with the volley game, which can get him some easy points. Bergs does not have many free points in this matchup. Yes, you could argue that Diallo is not the best returner. I think he's better than people think. He's not an amazing returner, but he's fine. And I thought that he showed that against Humbert, forced a couple of breakpoint chances. I thought he returned okay against Khachanov, got a couple breaks in that match as well. I think Diallo is the better player between the two of them, and I think that's why he's 2-0 in the head-to-head. But you're looking at the actual path so far. Beat Vukic, who's not very good, but still a win. Thompson is a pretty good grass player, 1-3. Diallo also beat Khachanov and beat Humbert in straight sets. For the actual Bergs matches, he beat Opelka, he beat Lejal. Papirin's a good win, I'll give him that. And he beat Blocks. So he basically beat two challengers, a lucky loser in Opelka, and Papirin. So I do think Diallo's being better competition in the event so far. And I think that he's a better player. He's been serving very well. Humbert's a great returner, and he had 0 break points because Diallo's serving has been that good. So give me Diallo in this one. I think he wins. I think it'll be a close matchup. Maybe it goes 3, but I think Diallo gets the job done. Now, the issue is for the spread itself. It can be tricky because Diallo can have a set where maybe he lets up or Bergs just raises his level, which we have seen on a couple of occasions where he's able to win a set, maybe loses in 3. It's why the over-under is tricky. It's why the spread is tricky. The team total over for Diallo makes sense at 13 because you can argue that you might end up getting a potential 7-5 or 7-6 in there, and Diallo wins in straight sets. You end up pushing for that, or you could win if he loses in 3 or if he wins in 3, or even wins in a very competitive straight sets with a 7-6, 7-6, for example. But give me Diallo for this one. I think he's the better player. I think that his run has been less, I don't know if fluky is the right word, because he also fought off some potential match points there against Thompson. But I think Diallo's looked like the much better player on the courts here, and I'll take him because of it. Give me Diallo to get the job done here, and I'll go with the team total over for that one for this matchup. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the preview of the finals in Stuttgart and in Den Bosch. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before you actually get into the lock and dog, a reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Underdog Fantasy, because you can play the Underdog Fantasy during the finals. They're going along with their extender bonus. Hop in game 1, The longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. Sign up, though, with the code SGPN. They get a special pick and first time with an offer up to 1K in a bonus cash fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to by Rhythm because they are using a brand new feature called Power Trends. Add to patterns where Rhythm's models have consistently won, have a high ROI. Power Trends are updated daily and also exclusive to Rhythm. No tout, no noise, just clean data by picks. Download the Rhythm app. Check out the Power Trends. Start betting smarter. Try it out for free for a week, though, by using the 7-day free trial. Go to sportsgambling.com/rhythm to claim your 7-day free trial. We're also brought to by MyBookie. Because MyBookie plays every sport. They have the NBA Finals, they have the Stanley Cup, they have baseball, they have UFC, you name it. They're also available to locations. Use crypto for all these payouts. Easy deposit. Sign up for an account. Use code SGPN. They get a special 100% deposit match up to 1K. So you get a nice deposit match there if you use the code SGPN when you sign up. Terms and conditions MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the finals in Stuttgart and in Den Bosch. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For the lock and dog, I actually will double down on one match. It will not be the Diallo match. I thought the pricing was a little bit too sharp for me. Wasn't interested. Think it could go 3, could end in straight sets. Who knows? So I'm going to pass on those two guys instead. I'm going to go with the matchup in Stuttgart between Zverev and Fritz. For the lock, give me the Zverev team total over 13 at -140. I think win or lose, there's a path for Zverev to win this. And if he wins a set, I feel good about getting at least a push. Zverev, though, despite losing a couple of, once again, I'll put it this way. Despite having a couple of competitive sets, he has been coming out on top, and he has won at least 13 games in each of the first 3 matches, despite not dropping a set. So he has had a 7-5 or 7-6 in all 3 matches so far. He had 2 breakers against Shelton. That would get you the win if he wins in straight sets. Point is, Zverev, though, has been going at least to the number 13 on the team total frequently, and I do think he can get there even in a loss against Fritz because he has gone over this team total in 3 of the last 4 Fritz victories that he's had against him. So the point is, Zverev, despite losing to Fritz, has been winning sets, and he has been very competitive. He just has lost in a couple of heartbreakers. But I do like the fact that you're expecting probably a breaker or 2 in this one. Fritz can win a breaker. He can win a set, but you're looking at a couple of paths to get there. All 3 grass meetings as well did not end in straight sets. I see a war. So give me the Zverev team total over 13. Think he can get there in a potential push if he wins 7-6, 6-4. He could also get there in a 3-setter, which he might lose. But I expect to see a bunch of long sets like the team totals here. Give me the team total over for Zverev as my lock at -140. For the dog, though, I'm going to go with the same game parlay. You can go with the over 2.5 sets at +130. It is not available to you, but I am going to go with the team total parlay. Give me the Zverev team total over 13.5, parlayed with the Fritz team total over 13.5 at +154 on Caesars. Fritz has been serving extremely well. He has not been broken in the entire event. He's faced some break points, but he's not been broken. Zverev, though, has not been broken in 2 straight matches. You're looking at both guys serving very well. There's also been a bunch of long sets recently for each of them. There's been a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in 8 of Fritz's last 9 matches, and there has been a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in all 3 of Zverev's matches so far in the event. So you're expecting to see at least one breaker, and if you end up getting a breaker and a 6-4, for example, you're in good shape because that means that each guy either has about 10 or 11, and you're looking at, well, one guy in theory would have more than that, but you get my point. Both guys would be in position for a very solid, I'd say even easy cash if it goes to a 3rd set, expecting both guys to hold serve regularly. I'm expecting the 3-setter, so with that being the case, you'll get an extra about 24 cents by taking the team total parlay instead. I do not see a blowout set. I see it probably going to each set minimum 6-4, give or take, maybe a 6-3 with one break if the guy serves first. But I think you're looking at, once again, what should be a very competitive final. The history has been competitive. 3 of the last 4 meetings done in straight sets. I'm expecting a war. I'll back the team totals here. Give me the team total over parlay as my dog at +154. So once again, the plays here for the final in Stuttgart. I'm going to skip the Den Bosch final for the actual picks. Lock, I'm going to go with Zverev team total over 13 at -140. For the dog, I'm going to go with Zverev team total over 13.5, not 13, but still 13.5, and Fritz team total over 13.5 as well. Same game parlay at +154 as my dog. So I'm going to wrap it up for the show. Back once again in about a day or 2 to break down the outrights for London and Halle. Till next time, I'm on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.